So I've taken a bit of a break from the kind of stuff I have been reading. I've noticed that I've been reading so much stuff that my head just can't organize it. So I thought what would be really useful is to look into memory. So this book's called Memory: How to Develop, Train and Use It by William Walker Atkinson. I thought this was really good. Leading up to this, I had a look around trying to find what would be a good thing to start with. And I looked at a few, obviously YouTube videos. A lot of the first things I came across were related to association and more like quick memory tricks. Things that would help you remember numbers, shopping lists, things like that. But I thought that wasn't something that was as useful for me because I'm dealing with a lot of information. One of the issues I have is if I'm reading a book, then I put it down and I come back to it later, I have to backtrack quite a bit just to catch up to where I was, so it ends up taking me longer to read it than it should. So I think for me what was good about this book was that it didn't just deal with that association technique, it was more about changing, exercising and actually making your memory better as opposed to having a trick or a tool that you use to help you do a specific task. I think this is great in general, just for anyone that wants to exercise and have a better memory. They talk a lot about the concept of practice, and that's something that we always overlook in general life. I mean, I know I do that. There's things I should be able to do better, and it's just because I don't do them often enough. Good thing about this is there's also a few exercises that you can do as well. So I'm going to attempt to take an excerpt from The Science of Getting Rich, Wallace Wattles, mainly because his overall statement I feel it is a bit more challenging and it's not language that you would normally come across in everyday life. So it's going to force me to remember structures and sentences in a way that I'm not used to receiving them. A very simple process. All I'm going to do is what the book has suggested and take a piece and learn bit by bit, literally bit by bit. In the book it deals a little bit more with, say, poetry and things like that, and short paragraphs. For me, because my memory is absolutely terrible, I'm going to take another step back from that. Also because this paragraph is quite solid. I'm going to go sentence at a time, and I'm going to see how long it takes me to get through that and try and remember the whole piece. I don't know what it is off the top of my head, so I'm going to throw it. I'll throw it up for you now if you're curious. But I know this is going to take me a while. But as they say in the book, the more frequently you do this, it not only trains your brain to retain the information, remember the information, and recall the information. It also teaches your brain to be prepared to have to recall stuff. So new information that you take in, it categorizes it a little bit differently and makes sure you have easier access to it. So hopefully this will be a very beneficial exercise for me. There's some great information in this book that cover all sorts of memory areas, whether it's people's names, people's faces, whether it's entering a room and remembering what was there, again, reading. And as with most of the stuff that I've been coming across, this is quite related to work situations, you know, stories of people that have started quite low down or have had very tough times with their memory, have exercised it, got it working better, and as a result have promoted and done really, really well in business, even just because of remembering thousands of people's names. A key point in the book is with regards to association. So it's not something to avoid, it's something to use and utilize, definitely. The idea that if you have a piece of information, when you originally take it in, the more links you can create to things that you already know or things that you already have easy access to in your memory, the easier it will be for you to come back to it later on. So for example, you meet a new person, when you hear their name, if you know anyone that has the same name, then the first thing you can do is create a link between those two people. When you hear this person's name or when you see this person's face, you instantly think of the other person. Now this isn't so that when you meet this person you think of someone else. It's more so that the information is deemed more important inside your subconscious, I guess. One of the ways I saw it is how, I mean, I don't know if the internet works like this now, but how it used to work in terms of websites. the more links you have coming to your page and the more links you have going out, the more important the Google thought that your website was. It had a better standing, it had more power to it, so you were a little bit more important. Same thing with this information. You know, when you see an apple, you don't just recognize it as an apple. There's a whole bunch of things that happen. You go green or red or whatever color it might be. You go the shape, the smell, the feel, the texture, whether it has a stem, all sorts of things like that, whether you already know it's a fruit. All these links your brain makes instantaneously, and that gives you access to the information about this object that you already have. So again, going back to that point, the more links you can create when you take on a piece of information, the easier it will be for you to access it without too much effort. Things like picturing things, if it's dates, events, if you're in school, any things to do with history, it's helpful to actually try and picture the event itself with the date in that picture, the year in that picture. But overall, pretty good book, very useful. I think it's one I'm going to have to read a couple of times because until my memory actually works better, most of that information is going to just go straight through me. But definitely will be reading it a few times, especially some portions of it, working on the techniques and being more effective and practicing. I can definitely see it helping, and at the very least being able to retain a bit more information from all these books that I'm trying to get through. So if you have the time, I would definitely say check it out. Memory: How to Develop, Train and Use It by William Walker Atkinson. If you found this useful or interesting at all, let me know. Hit the like button, subscribe, follow, leave some comments below. I'm wanting to make these videos a bit more interesting. I'm sort of stuck at the moment in between. I don't know if I should be doing a full-on review of what the book is, or if I want to be taking things that I learned and things that I'll be using and teach them to you. I feel that's a little bit wrong because the person has spent a lot of time on creating the book, and it'll be secondhand information coming from me. It's not going to be as accurate, and again, it will be my translation into what works for me personally. So I don't quite feel right about doing that, but most importantly, I want to try and make these a bit more interesting. I realize I'm keeping them kind of serious, and I want to lighten the mood a little bit, make it easier for you guys to remember. So if you guys have any suggestions other than to just be a bit better, if you want some more humor in them, or if you want me to cover some other topics, you know, I'm working my way slowly out there and branching out, but you know, got to start somewhere. But yeah, thanks again for watching, and I'll see you again soon. It's time to be better.